What's up, everybody? My name is Scott. I'm a medium and a psychic, and we are hanging out here in my studio, I suppose. This is where you might be used to seeing me live for Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and alike. But we're here live now, hanging out with you on so many other platforms, and it's nice to have you here with us. So, the question today is, are ghosts real? Do you believe in ghosts? This is a test, of course, of what is going to come here. So, I'm happy to have you. It's nice to see you. Welcome in. When you come in, please do me a favor and say hello. Let me know where you're coming from, where you're from, how's the weather, and all those kinds of things. Let's go over to our comments. What's up, Morgs? Nice to see you there joining us on YouTube. Nice to see you. Welcome in. So, the question today is, are ghosts real? Do you believe in ghosts? I think Morgs might. We know Morgs. She's from our TikTok lives. We're doing a little test here, and we're having a little fun. We'll see. Welcome in. Welcome in. Hello. Hi there, three viewers. Nice to see you. Welcome in. Come on in. My name's Scott. I'm a medium and a psychic. Please say hello as you're coming in. Where are you from? Not geographically. Where are you checking in from? What service are you coming in from? Um, Morg says she might believe in ghosts a tiny bit. Well, have you ever experienced something that defies all logic, an unseen presence, or something so inexplainable that can only be described as supernatural? Perhaps you're not alone. According to a 2022 YouGov poll, nearly two-thirds of Americans say they have had a paranormal encounter of some kind, including things like hearing unexplained voices, seeing objects move on their own, as well as other experiences that can only be considered as, well, unearthly. We are coming into the season of The Haunting. Andrea is here. What's up, Andrea? How are you? Nice to see you. Coming in from Facebook. Nice to see you. Welcome in. So, two-thirds of Americans who were polled for this said that they believed in something supernatural or paranormal. Are you one of those people? Do you believe in the ghosts? Do you believe in the supernatural, the paranormal? What does that even mean? What is the supernatural? What is the paranormal? What is beyond belief? Well, there's a ton of evidence that points in the direction that there is something out there that we can't explain. I myself am a skeptical believer. What does that mean? It means that I believe the things that I see, witness, and encounter myself. But when somebody tells me a story, there are a lot of questions that I have for them. Now, I don't get upset when they have a lot of questions for me about the things that I've encountered because I, on the other side, have a lot of questions for them as well. So the question is for you folks who are checking in and saying hello, have you ever seen anything that was supernatural or paranormal? Do you believe in ghosts? Are you one of the two-thirds of Americans that believe in the supernatural or paranormal? And what would it be that you saw that would change your mind from somebody who was not a believer into somebody who was a believer? That's the question. For me, of course, I go by Scotty the Medium, so there's that, which makes me a little bit more of a believer. But I think that one of the biggest encounters that I ever had was when I was probably about 27 or 28 years old. I was living in an apartment with my oldest daughter, and she kept telling me that the apartment was haunted. And I was like, I don't think so. It's strange that you would think that. I don't think it's haunted. Hey, Moonlight, welcome in. And she says, but Dad, I'm telling you, something held me down at night. Something was walking around the room. Something was playing the strings of your guitar when there was nobody in the room. And I hadn't witnessed any of that, so I didn't believe it. However, after her telling me that several times, you know, I witnessed something. We were sitting or standing rather in our small kitchen that we had, and there were some pieces of fruit sitting on the counter. And as we're standing there having a chat, this orange that was laying on the counter jumped up in front of us. It had to have jumped 2 feet off the counter vertically, up like this, in between the two of us having a conversation. And she put her hand on her hip in the most sassiest way ever, was like, see, I told you. And from there, I was like, there is something very paranormal happening here. So I think that is pretty neat. that's what got me to change my mind. That's what got me to experience something paranormal that I couldn't explain. There was no way for me to explain something that was sitting still, jumping. And then several weeks after that, there was another encounter, which I'll save for another time. And it's a third party story. A friend of mine visited and had his own paranormal encounter there in that space. And he is somebody who I think believed in ghosts prior, but this probably solidified everything that he thought. So, welcome in, everybody. My name is Scott. I'm a medium and a psychic. We're hanging out. This is a test. I am streaming live right now to our Facebook, our Twitch, which you probably didn't know I had. I barely have ever used it. So, welcome in if you're from Twitch, and also our YouTube channel. All really great places to be watching from. And I wanted to come in and engage audiences that I don't get a chance to generally say hello to and introduce myself again to you in a way that maybe would be a little bit more comfortable for you. I have headphones on because I am monitoring the sound. I am hanging out with you and we're talking a little bit about ghosts. Rachel's here. Hey, Scott, Devil Woman here. I'm so happy to see you on YouTube where it doesn't glitch as much. See? So we have some YouTube viewers in here. Welcome in. Please do me a favor, no matter where you're watching, grab it, share the link to another platform, and say hello. So if you're watching this on YouTube, Rachel, can you share it into our subscriber-only Discord so that they can see us in here as well? I told them to come find me like a little Easter egg hunt. Like, where's Scotty going to pop up now? So I wanted to talk a little bit. I have a podcast, and this is going to be the podcast setting for what you're seeing. This is the test for it. It's a podcast that you can already go listen to. And we have a couple episodes up, but this is it. I want to make it a video podcast. We're going to talk. I'm going to engage with you guys as the audience. And the podcast is called Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal. And why do I have a podcast called Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal? Because in our own brain as people, we encounter things that are supernatural and paranormal. They're things that we can't understand. So that's part of our brain. And the rational part of our brain tries to quantify it and understand it and make sense of it. And when we can't, it becomes supernatural and paranormal. So Scotty the Medium, Scotty, I'm always thinking about what paranormal things have happened and how can we sort of analyze those things to the point where we can boil it down and try to make sense of it. And then to what point is it something we can't make sense of? So it's Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal. And it has so many different reasons for that. It's going to be fun, this adventure that we're going to go on together. I'm glad you're joining us here as YouTube creators. So I have many YouTube videos available to you. If you go onto my Scotty the Medium YouTube channel, if that's where you're joining from, you can see all of the cool YouTube videos that I have already posted. I just don't go in there as much as I should, and that's going to start up again. Hey, Tara K. Try to comment on Twitch, but it says I have to follow for a month first. All right, sorry. Share it on Discord. Thanks, Mindy. Appreciate you. So if you didn't know, we have a podcast called Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal. This is a little bit of a test to run for that because I want to do it a little bit differently and engage with you guys and gals. So the question was, have you ever experienced something that defies all logic, an unseen presence, or something inexplicable that can only be described as supernatural or paranormal, right? And according to a YouGov poll taken in 2022, nearly 2/3 of Americans say they have had a paranormal encounter of some kind, including things like hearing unexplained voices, seeing objects move on their own, as well as other experiences that can only be considered as unearthly. So are you one of the 2/3 of Americans who believe in the paranormal? Have you witnessed something that was scary and you just didn't know how to explain it? Are you versus the paranormal or are you for the paranormal? Hey, Jennifer Torres, welcome in. Nice to see you there. Welcome, welcome. Rachel says someone posted he was live on different platforms. I didn't see who. I was just trying to get in the live quickly, but I shared again. Thanks, Rachel. So, yep, this is where we're going to hang out for a little bit. And we're just going to talk about the paranormal. So, this I'm reading, by the way, from something that just got posted. I love this. It just got posted. We're headed into spooky season, so it makes sense. It's on the Today Show website, and the author of this is Sarah Lemire, and I thought this was a really great place for us to start. She says, "So, what are ghosts? Let's read this. For many people, the word ghost conjures up one of two images: a menacing apparition that terrorizes unsuspecting homeowners, or is a cute trick or treater covered in a white bedsheet. Pop culture perception aside, the Merriam Webster Dictionary defines a ghost as a disembodied soul, or the soul of someone who's died that either lives in the spirit world or somehow exists in ours. So that's really interesting because I don't quite think that that completely encompasses ghost, but that is the basic version of what everybody would think would be a ghost, right? But we have recently started to think of ghosts maybe as bits and pieces of people left behind. What do you think? Is a ghost a whole person, or is it a piece of a person that got left behind? Let me know down in the comments what you think. Ed says, "Are we playing hide and seek?" We are a little bit. Rachel says, "Yes. I see and hear things my whole life. I've always been nervous about it, but now I'm more open and trying to be more accepting of it as a gift rather than something scary." Yeah, so that is something too. Once we start to understand something and take the mystery out of it a little bit, it becomes a little less scary, right? It's a little bit less like it's a little bit less frightening when you understand what something is. Or you can say, "Hey, there's a group of us who have experienced this, and we can all talk about it together," and it becomes a little bit less scary, right? So that's really great. So this is the question right now: is what are ghosts? Are they whole souls that are left behind? So if you died tomorrow and you popped out of your body, your soul came out, pop, it popped out, and it started walking to earth, would your whole soul be trapped earthbound? Or is it just a piece of you, a piece that has unfinished business, or is it something else? What do you think? Let me know down in the comments what you think a ghost really is. It's interesting to think about the fact that maybe a piece of you goes to the other side, wherever that might be: heaven, hell, purgatory, outer space, a cloud, I don't know, somewhere. And then a piece of you gets left behind. And if so, how does that choice get made? Joanna says, "Hide and seek messes with my anxiety, especially when Scotty's sentence structure stinks on Discord." Yeah, that was on purpose. It's called an Easter egg. I left you a little nugget to come find me. Kaylee says, "Just listening silently." Ed says, in reference to my question, is it depends if it's residual or intelligent. Well, what would make it residual? Why would something residually haunt? Some scientists speculate that there might be something in the earth, such as the water or limestone or other things that happen in composition of the earth, magnetic fields that would have a spirit or a ghost get left behind. What about a fragment of a person? What can piece of Ed be left behind somewhere? Ed, you've been working at the same place for 20 years and you keep going to the same place and going and going. Who's to say that it is not a stone tape? It's not a replay of Ed, but the piece of you that really enjoyed going to the place that you worked and helping people, and the rest of your soul could rest and it went wherever it goes. But the piece of you that liked to be helpful and would stay behind and try to tend to the new people who are coming into that space and helping. What about that? Right? What's up with that? Margaret Phyllis says, "Oh, this sounds like fun. I hope so." That's the point. I want to have a conversation about the paranormal with you in a way that is outside of the box of where we usually talk. So this is the space we're going to do that in. This is the first part test of Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal. So welcome in. God help my job if that happens. Right. So Moonlight says, "Precious memories of happiness in the place that they were comfortable and loved." Right. So is a piece of your soul staying behind, or is the whole thing? I saw somebody said, Jennifer says a whole person she thinks would stay behind. So your whole soul pops out, popped out of the body. You're dead. It's fine. You're fine. You're alive still in spirit, right? You popped out, pop, and now you're just walking around the earth, your whole soul with no body. Now, that is mostly how I think we think of it, but I think there's more to it. I think there's bits and pieces and fragments, because energy with no container can do whatever it wants. Without this container holding you back, it can do whatever it wants, right? Like electricity with no container. Think of a Tesla coil. It doesn't have a container. It just shoots everywhere. So, of course, that's all one element. It's electricity, and it goes everywhere. But your soul is that as well, we think. So, a piece of you can stay here and a piece of you can go. What do you think? So, let's further look at this. Pop culture perceptions aside, the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines a ghost as a disembodied soul, or the soul of someone who's died that either lives in the spirit world or somehow exists in ours. Sherry Dillard, a medium and author of the book I'm Still With You, says it's important to distinguish between ghosts and the spirits of loved ones who have passed on, because according to Dillard, they aren't the same thing. Which is interesting because that's also my take as Scotty the Medium. I believe that the words are interchangeable. They don't. It doesn't matter. You ever see that Twix commercial that says "I a spirit and you a ghost"? That one. It's the same thing. There's a left and a right. It's the same though. I say that ghosts, for my own speaking terms, ghosts stay here with us on Earth. They're earthbound, and spirit are the ones that cross over. Now, but I'm also introducing the question of, does the whole spirit or ghost stay here, or does it move forward? Right. So it's something to think about. All right. So let's see what else Sherry Dillard here has to say. When loved ones die, she says, they leave the earth and pass into a higher loving existence, whether it be heaven, the light, or any other concept of afterlife. Now, I don't know Sherry Dillard, but I like her language. I like the way she's talking because this is the way I like to leave it as well. Not giving a religious connotation to the things that we are giving. So I like that she says higher loving existence, heaven, the light, whatever you might want to call it. She says, similar to ghosts, we may occasionally feel the presence of those loved ones after they are gone, whether it be in dreams, paranormal activity, or other encounters. And in those instances, she says, we typically have feelings of warmth, recognition, or love. Well, how many of you, by a show of comments, have had a dream about a loved one who passed? Do you think that that is you remembering that person and your brain and all the juices in there coming together and mixing together, forming that person again because you miss them so much? Or are you on the school of thought that this is your loved one and they are coming to say hello to you? What do you think? Let me know down here. Margaret Phyllis says, I wonder this when I smell my dad's cigarettes late at night. Yeah. Is that really them? Is it a piece of him? Is he coming? Hi, Judy Lipford. Nice to see you there. Angela Fry, nice to see you. She says that some of these things might be like an imprint. Hello, hello. Holden and Miriam Goodson says, but then how do we take into things like attachments? Well, what I'd ask you there is, can you prove that attachments are real? There's only evidence that these things exist. Somebody gave it a word, somebody gave it power and spoke it into existence, and now you believe it. This is not to question your belief or your religions or anything like that. It's just to say we have to think logically about things. And where did the idea of attachments come from? As a matter of fact, it would be a wonderful thing for me to put into our Scotty the Medium verse, the paranormal list, right? It's something to talk about. So I'm going to write it here, attachments. It'll be something I research a little bit. I'll find out where this idea came from. We'll read some articles about it and we'll have a nice discussion about it. So going down here, it says, I had a dream that, this is Joanna says, I had a dream that my grandmother came to visit me, just simply hand me a blue baby blanket before we found out we were having a boy. And I believe it was her. So that's really nice. It's a really nice, pleasant thought to have, right? Judy says, I think it's my loved ones coming to visit me. My husband thinks it's a sign that he will pass soon. Oh, that's sad. Jennifer says, I definitely think it's a loved one. I had a dream of my best friend's brother who had passed, and he came to me in a dream. So that's strongly you all believe that this is your loved ones. But I think a skeptic would say it's just your brain manifesting this stuff. Now, you got to remember, I'm on your side, Scotty the Medium, right? But I always like to think logically about things and try to understand them the best I can and disprove them. Now, what's interesting is if your grandmother came and handed you a blue blanket and you didn't know you were having a boy yet, Could your maternal instincts have somehow known that there was a boy created here? The soul was there. You knew it somehow genetically. I don't know. I'm not a woman, so I can't speak on your behalf. I have no idea if that's something. I don't think it is, but could it be? And it's just something to think about. And I don't want to think about it to disprove it. I just want to think about it in sort of a philosophical kind of way. Like, because the deeper we think about it and the more we try to understand it from the other points of view, the stronger it can actually make our point of view better. It can make it a better argument for ourselves. Angela says, I've also seen a spirit that seems surprised to see me. So who's the ghost? I bet in their reality, they see me as a ghost. I think some don't move on, and that's why we see what they want to see. That is something very interesting also to think about. And I have also thought about that as well. So let's see what else Miss Sherry Dillard, the medium, has to say. Similar to Ghost, Dillard says, we may occasionally feel the presence of those loved ones after they are gone, whether it be in dreams, paranormal activity, or other encounters. And in those instances, she says, we typically have feelings of warmth, recognition, or love. It doesn't emotionally incite, she tells Today.com. For most people, we don't get scared or fearful. Most of the time, people will recognize, oh, I feel like my grandmother was here, or my mother, father, or I just have that feeling. Ghosts, however, are a very different story. Dillard says we rarely, if ever, know who they are. Usually it strikes us as a different energy. It strikes us as something we're not familiar with, she explains. So that's really interesting. So when spirit comes, it's somebody we know. It's our family members, it's a loved one, it's a best friend, it's a son, it's a daughter, it's somebody we knew in life. But Dillard says ghosts are people we never met, people that we didn't know in life, that come and they jar us. They're scary. They open up the cabinets, they bang on the walls, they scratch, they do all the things that ghosts do. Now, why would that be? Why would a ghost want your attention? What makes you so special? What makes me so special? I don't know. Why did a ghost toss an orange in my kitchen? I don't know. Jen says, I do the logical brain, but my dream was so lifelike. I didn't have a strong connection with this brother. Very interesting. Now, would that be maternal instinct or subconscious awareness? Yeah, exactly. I don't know. So how many people here, by a show of comments, have had some sort of paranormal experience where they were haunted, where a ghost came out and scared them? Did you see somebody? Did you know that they were there? Did you see an apparition, a shadow? Did you see an orb? What was it that made you think that you were being haunted by a ghost? Do-it-yourself Mama says, broadening our horizons today, aren't we? All different platforms. Yes, we are dry running a new platform for our podcast, Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal. You can actually take a listen to that. There's several episodes of it out, but we're reformatting it, and I hope that you like it as it comes out. Judy Lipford says, I have dreamed of my mother and father, but yet have dreamed of my sister. Interesting. So, and this is, again, I'm with you. Remember, I'm Scotty the Medium. I believe. But the question is, rationally, why wouldn't your sister come and visit you if your mom and dad have? And that's not to make you upset or sad. It's just to ask the question. If she could, wouldn't she? And is there something that is going on inside of you that is not making that possible? Or is there some reason why she wouldn't want to? There's so many questions when it comes to things like that. Would a shooting a light count as a paranormal experience? Sure. Light shouldn't just shoot across rooms or across the sky unless it's a shooting star or lightning. So yeah. Hi, Mina. Nice to see you there. Welcome in. I've seen the shadow a few times, says Jen Torres. So that's interesting. So let's talk a little bit more about ghosts here. Ghosts, however, are a different story. Dillard says, we rarely, if ever, know who they are. Usually it strikes us as a different energy. It strikes us as something we're not familiar with, she explains. If not acquaintances or loved ones, who are they? Most commonly, ghosts are human beings, people who pass over and, for various reasons, resist going into that higher level of love and resolution, says Dillard. She explains that one of the reasons a ghost might stick around instead of moving on to the other side is trauma. They may have been in a sudden accident or some trauma unexpectedly, and they didn't realize they are actually past. I know that sounds strange, but it's true. There's a little bit more to that part. Confused or lost, the ghost lingers. What they do is they try clinging to any kind of energy source. They'll cling to a house or the people in the house. So that's interesting. Um, Very interesting. Very interesting. So, does that mean that they are stuck or attached, like somebody had suggested earlier? Mina says, I have seen two ghosts when I was like 7, two huge light figures. I was so scared that I hid underneath my blanket, and I've had several premonitions since I was small. Interesting. Angela says, as a kid, one lived in my closet. As an adult, I have dreamed that one has missed me, but I never knew him in life. But I think no one else sees him like I could. I feel he's still in that house. I had an experience as a child and then ignored it until she was at the Shanley. So very interesting. So the question today is, do you believe in ghosts, and what are they? And I had proposed another question: does an entire soul have to stay behind to become a ghost, or can it just be a piece of a person? It's a very interesting question that a coworker of mine had suggested a couple weeks ago during an investigation. So I like it. I like that idea. Is it a whole person, or can a piece of the soul be stuck behind to exist here in our realm? Very interesting. Do it yourself mama says, there's a house in Cincinnati. Every time I see it, I see a woman's spirit out front. And she said she'll post the picture in our Discord. Fantastic. Thank you. According to Michael Newton, we can be in many places and bodies. Yeah, very interesting. Who knows? Soul is like rock. Starts out whole. As it rolls down, where'd it go? Rolls down the road, erosion happens, and pieces of the soul left behind. Yeah, that's an interesting way to think of it. I like it. The rock soul. So the question is, again, do you believe in ghosts, and what are they? Let's see. Ghosts can also be attached to other physical objects, says Sherry Dillard. Anything with a strong emotional energy. Psychic and medium, one of all of our favorites, Chip Coffey, has appeared on more than 130 paranormal TV shows, including Kindred Spirits, and much like Dillard, he considered ghosts to be deceased people whose souls haven't properly transitioned. They're kind of stuck in the middle someplace. They've remained on the third dimension plane, and for whatever reason they may have, they haven't completed their transition into spirit, he tells Today.com. Interesting. I like that. You think it's just pieces of a person's energy spread out, not the whole person. That's Rachel says that. Judy says, would a ghost show up in different than a spirit when you see them? I don't know. Would they? So many times ghosts are considered to be what you think in Hollywood movies, apparitions, full bodies, maybe shadows, dark figures, balls of light, and spirit. They don't really address spirit too often. Scotty the Medium has an opinion, but I'm not putting my 2 cents in on it. I just am asking some good questions and reading a little bit from other people who consider themselves to be professionals in the business. I think it's a really great place for us to start our conversation. Rachel says, Michael Newton is my favorite. I keep trying to get Scott to look him up, and I still have yet to do that because I have so much to do. However, Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal might look him up. Michael Newton, because we are going to do quite a few of these episodes just like this. If you're enjoying this, please do me a favor. If you haven't yet, wherever you're following me from or watching, please make sure you hit the follow, like, and subscribe and all that stuff. Leave a comment and share with your friends, because Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal is going to grow and grow as we get going here into the spooky season. And then if you all like it, we'll continue to do it. Okay, it'll be an extension of what we already do for our lives and all the other fun stuff that we do as a group. All right, just remember, everything that I do here on Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal is going to be to question things. Even if I have already given you an opinion somewhere else, the idea is to question in a respectable and intelligent way that doesn't hurt other people's beliefs, feelings, or truths. We just want to ask questions and think a little bit deeper about the meanings of what we're talking about. And that's what I like to do. So again, if you are okay with being questioned and you like to think a little bit deeper and just pick a little bit at your beliefs and your truths, and myself included, this is why I do this meditation of sorts. Please make sure you're following us here, okay? Remember, it's supposed to be um, something fun and entertaining, but also a little thought provoking, okay? I have to have some coffee. I'm very thirsty. By the way, please do me a favor and follow our coffee sponsor, Brewed Awakenings. You can follow them on social media, pretty much anywhere. Brewed Awakenings, coffee out of Texas. All right, they are our coffee sponsor. They're fantastic. So let's talk about, what does science say about ghosts? Now, this is where it gets interesting, I'm sure. Christine Simmons Moore, a PhD, is a professor of psychology at the University of West Georgia, who specializes in parapsychological research. There we go. I got that word out. According to Simmons Moore, ghosts are found in every single culture and have been recorded throughout history. Ghosts come from experience, she tells Today.com. So human beings have had experiences with spirits, and we can be neutral on whether some of those are genuine spirits or whether they are explained more normally. But irrespective of that, people have had experiences because it's a big part of being human. Whether those experiences are related to more earthly things like a near-death experience, loss of a loved one, or occur in an altered state such as a dream, deep relaxation, or are chemically induced in trying to understand them, they can change our perception or beliefs. So that's a really interesting thing for a scientist to say. Now, in our own sphere of people that we have in our toolbox of amazing people, we have our own parapsychologist. She has a PhD. Her name is Melissa the Ghost Doctor. She is fantastic. And she is also a scientist who believes in the paranormal. She believes in the spiritual and ghosts. And I think her views would probably be similar to this. Maybe one day we'll have her on as a guest and we'll chat with her about this. I like that this doctor says ghosts come from experience. Human beings have had experiences with spirits, and we could be neutral on whether some of those are genuine spirits or they can be explained more normally. So that's a really great way, sort of what we're saying here. When I tell you about a paranormal experience that I've had, I'm telling you from a very truthful place. I've had the experience. I want you to believe it, and I'm going to present you with the best evidence that I have, because proof is hard to come by. But I have evidence. And when you tell me a story, I listen to it openly. I want to hear it and experience what you did. But I'm also going to have questions, because I want to make sure that when I say, you tell me that the doors flew open in your house, and I say, well, was it a really windy day? And you're like, yeah, actually, there was a hurricane. I forgot to mention that part in my story. So then I could say, well, scientifically, we could probably just say that maybe the hurricane blew your door open. I'm sorry. But if I'm like, hey, was it windy? And you're like, no, there was no movement in there. Then we can ask more questions, or we'd say maybe it was a ghost, right? Very interesting. One of the things that I really like about the paranormal and listening to stories is the experience that people have, and the experiences that you do have. And you tell me the story and I listen and I get the goosebumps. And then my logical brain is like, yeah, but ask these 5 questions. Let's see. And something I've learned through my other job is that witness testimony stinks. So you have to ask a lot of questions to really get down to the bottom. And it's a lot of times not because people want to intentionally deceive you, but they just don't think of it the whole way through. And I do the same thing. I'm not infallible. This is if you ask me a bunch of questions, it's good, because it gets me to understand the whole story more completely, and not just from this point of view. Then I have to look at it from over here and from back there and really analyze it. And that's really important when it comes to the paranormal. It's the reason why I like the idea of my podcast being called Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal, because we have to think logically about everything, and we have to ask questions. And one of my favorite things, and I don't know if I've ever done any investigations for any of you, but one of the things that I tell people when I go to their homes to investigate is, I believe everything you tell me, but I'm also going to question you like I don't believe a word that you're saying because I have to get to the bottom of as much of the truth as I possibly can and rule out whatever is nonsense and then get to boil it down to what is possibly supernatural and investigate that part of it, right? So I don't know if anybody's ever heard me say that, but I drive people kind of crazy when I go to investigations because I need to know. We have to get to the truth. All right, so let's go down here a little bit. Whether those experiences are related to more earthly things like a near-death experience, loss of a loved one, or occur in an altered state such as a dream, deep relaxation, or chemically induced, in trying to understand them, they can change our perceptions or beliefs. What's up, hon? Huh? Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. Okay. All right. So when it comes to a lot of these things, I would rule out chemically induced. Anything that's chemically induced, you're out. Just because your brain can do all kinds of things when it's underneath the under substance, right? We can't trust anything, whether you're intoxicated, under the influence, or otherwise. Just gonna have to take that away. Now, I'm not saying that they're not real. I'm just saying we have to remove those because it's just too many variables. Dreams, we just talked about that. When your loved ones come in dreams, is that really your loved ones, or is it something else? Are they coming to visit you and tapping into your brainwaves and visiting? Deep relaxation. Oh, AKA meditation, right? And we talk about that a lot. I guess you could argue that that is also altering your brain chemistry, but you're not putting any substance in. It's just using what's already in there. From those perceptions and beliefs, from there, those beliefs can lead to other experiences, including seeing ghosts. Bottom line, if you think there are ghosts, then you are more inclined to think that you have seen one. Well, that makes sense. How many people here were like strong non-believers in the paranormal, strong non-believers in ghosts, and then all of a sudden you saw something and you're like, oh, dang, ghosts are real. Yeah, this is a real thing. But you didn't believe in ghosts one bit to begin with. That's a good question. How many? We'll have to set up a poll somewhere. Not a medium, didn't convince you, psychic, medium, none of that. Or you saw a TV show, like you were a non-believer, and then in real life you saw a ghost, and you were like, "Yep, they real. Ghosts be real. I know it. Ghosts be real," because you had that conversation with yourself after seeing something. All right. There's a whole hierarchy of different types of ghost experiences, Simmons Moore says, and some of them are much more easy to explain using normal psychology than others. That said, Simmons Moore says that there are incidences in which people have paranormal encounters and inexplicitly gain access to information they didn't have access to prior to those encounters, and those are somewhat less easy to explain. Examples include things like people traveling to locations they've never been to, yet they seem to know things they shouldn't know, including events that occurred there or what a person they've never met was wearing, and other unexplainable circumstances. It doesn't mean that it's the media idea of the ghost, that there's something persisting and haunting. It could be that there's information that's tied to a place, and some people who are in those different states are more able to notice that information and have access to them than others. Wow, that's a lot to unpack. Tara says, my ex-husband didn't believe in them, and then one day said an old lady my kids had been talking about. He saw an old lady my kids have been talking about. So that's pretty interesting. He didn't believe in ghosts, and all of a sudden he saw the old lady that all your kids were talking about. And what choice did he have at that point? But hear me out. The kids were presenting the idea to him that there was a ghost. They presented the idea to him that there was a spirit, and then he saw one. So did they affect him in some way that made him believe in ghosts? And he was preemptively brought to that opinion that this was what he saw because he saw something he couldn't explain. It was like, oh, it was the old lady ghost. Interesting. Something to think about. All right. According to Simmons Moore, the scientist, doctor, some people believe they've had encounters with deceased loved ones, which is understandable given feelings of bereavement and loss, she says. But sometimes they might know that somebody's going to pass before they do, which some of you have told me about. Or they might have an encounter with an apparition, and they don't know that that person has actually passed away. And they see the apparition at the point of death and dying, she says. More than that, they might know how the person died, even before the information has been relayed. That's a really interesting thing to think about. Have you ever had an experience where somebody had passed away, you didn't know they were dead, and then you saw them as a ghost and were like, Johnny, you're not dead. Why am I seeing you? Why did I see Johnny? Even in a dream. We'll even open it up to dreams. Have you ever had that experience? Tara says he's a cop. Of course, he needs the facts. Just the facts, ma'am. So I've heard this experience many times from people where they say, I woke up and my grandfather was standing at the foot of my bed, and I just knew that he had passed away because I saw him there, and I knew that he shouldn't be in my room. And I woke up and I saw him there, and he was a ghost for sure. So that's a really powerful argument to say that you saw a ghost, because now you had access to information you couldn't have had access to. So have you ever had that experience before? Joanna says, yep. Do it yourself mama says similar. When sis-in-law went into labor, I just knew the baby wouldn't make it. That's so sad. He didn't. He only lived 18 hours. So that's premonition. That is something to think about. How do you have information like that? How did you get access to that? Did somebody tell you that? Who told you that? Why would they tell you that? What good does it do us to have that information, right? So that's a really amazing thing to talk about. Not the part about the baby passing. I'm very sorry about that. That's, of course, very sad. But the phenomenon that came prior to that is very interesting. I think and this is the doctor again, I think there are probably some extremely strong cases that are very rare where you can't always apply the normal explanation, Simmons Moore says. But the fact that they occur at all is very interesting, which is what I was saying. I think it is. So does all of this information make the case that ghosts are real? She says, I think it's probably more like information that has aspects of somebody's life that might persist, and then other people might be able to access that field of consciousness. This doctor is saying exactly what I didn't read this article before this, by the way. I'm just reading this cold with you because I want to be interested in the article. So, by the way, I'll put a link up to this article in my in all my socials so you can go back and read it for yourself. I think it's really fantastic that she said that. She's saying, maybe you are gaining access to slivers of this person left behind and just walking into that field of existence. Blah, my brain just blew out all over the place. That's amazing. This person is having those same thoughts as us. Joanna says, actually, now that you mention it, I saw my grandmother at her funeral, and before we found out she had passed. Very interesting. Mina says, I've had premonition since I was about 4 or 5. Very interesting. Liz Corona says, did it work? Yes. All right. So let's see what else we got here. Whether they exist in traditional sense or not, Simmons Moore says that there are many very rare experiences that are difficult to explain. In those cases, normal explanations don't necessarily fit. This implies that there are some experiences that are more intriguing. So there is a big question mark for those. So that is really neat, right? She doesn't want to say, like, as a scientist, like, yeah, ghosts exist. But what she is saying is, let's leave it open-ended and explore more, which is exactly what I think a good scientist would do. Not a hardline skeptic, because they don't give a crap. They don't want to know the truth. They don't care. Their opinion is their opinion. That's a hardline skeptic. But a true believer is the same. And if you don't think that, you have to remember they mirror each other. A true believer is somebody who you could say ghosts aren't real. And this true believer will argue with you until you're blue in the face. You have to be open-minded to say that maybe they don't exist and there's some other way to explain it. The same thing as the hardline skeptic. There's no such thing as ghosts and you can't prove otherwise. There are ghosts and you can't not prove it, and then they battle. And that's no good. We have to be open to both. And it's difficult for people to do because there is a truth and experience and life and religion and all these things that are twined into these paranormal and supernatural experiences. And we don't want to take away our truth or our belief and give somebody else that power away from us sometimes. But it's okay. It's okay. And also, always remember this. Two things could be true at once. That's something that I think adults should know. Kids know it. We should remember it. When you can rule out all things normal, then you're left with paranormal, but you got to try to debunk it first. Yes. Hi, Polly. Since near death experience, I know things and my sense have heightened. Yeah, that's a very common experience. La Chanta says, I think we can do whatever we want to do. It's their reality and being energy. You can, yeah, exactly. You can do the things that you like for sure. Paula says, learning to be open has been the best way to look at it. Yeah. And I think that's a really fantastic thing for all of us to do. So with that, we're going on 45 minutes of this. I have to say, do you guys like this? Do you like this intelligent conversation that we have? If so, please let me know down in the comments. I surely do enjoy this. I think that we can do this more often. It might shift and change a little bit to get more in depth and to understand the things. And I'd love for you to bring some questions to me and some topics that you like to discuss, and we could do that. And then we'll do more of this. This was just a test run of a new format, Scotty the Medium versus the Paranormal. What we're going to do is take this. I can download it, extract the sound, and then put it on as the podcast. And your names, as you've commented here, will appear in the podcast. You can say, hey, I asked a question, you mentioned me. It'll be really fantastic, okay? And then it'll be a part of our normal go ahead. It's something that I have been thinking about for a long time, but I think we really have the tools to be able to do it now. And I want to do it because this is a lot of fun for me too. It's an exercise. It's something to help us expand our mind a little bit, not just talk about how awesome we are in the paranormal or in the skeptic world. We can have guests on, all kinds of good stuff. So if you like that, we can do that. Okay. It's different, but a nice change. Yeah, that's perfect. That's why I like to do. So Polly, I don't know where you're visiting us from, Paula, but if you can do me a favor, leave a comment somewhere where I'll find it. And I will, like, whatever topics you would like me to discuss, please bring it to my attention. I'd love to. You can always email me, scottynjmedium@gmail.com. That's scottynjmedium@gmail.com. You can email me there and tell me like what kind of topics you want, and I'll put it on the podcast. I apologize. I'm not going to have a set time for when I can do this, but I will try to do one a week, and we'll live stream it. So you can be involved if you're around, but then you can also listen to the replay wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll upload it to those places. Okay. Thank you very much, Paula. And thank you to everybody else who's hanging out with me. You've made this last 45 minutes very pleasurable. I really enjoyed this. If you come up with news articles you'd like me to review or look over, please do that on both sides, skeptical and believers. If you find any cool paranormal stories you'd like me to cover and chat about here, I think this is going to be a really great way for us to do all that cool stuff. So again, thank you very much. I'm Scott. I go by Scotty the Medium. If you've never seen me before, you can check me out wherever you have social media. Follow me wherever you are right now, including Twitch, which is a new platform for us. And I think we're going to be doing some Twitch stuff there as well. So thanks, everybody. Yeah. Yep. off TikTok is fun. Of course, you can always hang out with me tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you have TikTok, you can hang out with me there. We're going to do free spirit-led mediumship readings. It's 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's free. It's fun. It's a good time. All right. Okay, everybody. I will see you all soon, and thank you for joining me here. I will post this up so you'll be able to find it and rewatch it if you like, okay? And I will put up the article from the Today Show in my social medias so you can read it as well. There was more to it, but quite frankly, I'm tired of talking at the moment. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you again. Peace and peppermint. Bye, everyone.